because they're not saying that this technique works every time, but if you learn when it works and when it doesn't, someone could make a whole lot of money gambling on games.
Do you realize that if this is correct, this will be the single strangest gambling segment ever produced by anybody in the history of gambling? Ricky Williams is exceedingly human and demands that his human interactions be meaningful and not just be, let's get right to work. So everyone say hello to Ricky here before we get started so he can have maximum chemistry with our room here.
Hi, Ricky.
Hello, Ricky.
All right, so you've got Jessica, you got Chris, you've got Roy, and you've got the historic situation where Ricky has requested to come on today. Never in my history with Ricky has he ever desired to be on any of the shows that I'm on, and he certainly hasn't asked. It's always me asking him to come on, but this time he's asked to come on with us. Why is this, Ricky? Why are you desiring to do this? This is something in our career, in my lifetime with you have never done before.
Because it's the time of year where we get to predict who's going to win the Super Bowl.
Excellent, excellent. Ricky's Pickies is what we're doing here. Yes, he wants to pick the Super Bowl through astrological signs. Before we do that, though, I have some football questions to ask you. Is that okay? I need to...
Please. Please.
Well, Myles Garrett just recently here yesterday requested a trade from the Browns. Have you, in your experience, ever requested a trade? Have you known a teammate who has requested a trade? In your time in football, was it even allowed to request a trade?
Yeah, I mean, it was considered taboo. I mean, you weren't a locker room guy if you decided to request a trade. I mean, there were times where I wanted to request a trade, but I didn't feel like I could. So I was always envious of the guys who had the courage to ask for what they wanted.
When did you want most to ask for a trade? It had to be during one of those 400 carry seasons.
Actually, it wasn't. It was pretty much day one in New Orleans. I mean, I feel like when I went to the press conference when Coach Ditka had the dreads on, that would have. I know you traded all those picks, but
it would have been great at that press conference to get up there and be like, you know what? I see these dreadlocks on Coach Ditka. I'm requesting a trade. Why didn't you do that? It would have been so honest. And what a great beginning press conference that would have been. You know what? The dreadlocks offend me, Coach. I'm out of here.
Yeah. I mean, but the reality was, the way I felt is they own me now. They own me.
It's a little extreme. Day one. That is not exactly a dream scenario. I've talked to you a lot over the years about pressure. And I was curious, in this Super Bowl, when you go through the astrological charts, is there a sign more equipped, better equipped for pressure than other signs?
It's the same sign or the same astrological archetype that makes someone a football player. So it's Mars. It's the god of war. Is when the bullets are flying, who has the ability to keep their mind straight and aim accurately and hit the enemy. And so any great football player, I think the way we define greatness in football is who has the ability to perform under pressure. And so in Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, what we call fire signs, are the signs most equipped to handle pressure.
Is there a least likely? Because Sagittarius, when I look at the Super Bowl MVPs here, I've got Tom Brady's a Leo. I have Aaron Rodgers is a Sagittarius. Von Miller is Aries. Is there a sign that's weaker than all the other signs under pressure?
I'd say water signs they're more emotional, and if they don't feel good, they kind of will shut off. But of course, there's exceptions to the rule, but across the board, yeah, water signs would be the ones.
I don't know what that is. Forgive my ignorance. For those who
Cancer, Pisces, and it's a water sign, but it's a fiery water sign, Scorpio. So I'd say Pisces and Cancer would be the two signs least likely to do great under pressure.
Thanks, Ricky.
Malcolm Smith was a Super Bowl MVP as a Cancer, a real upset story then, right? If he does it as a Cancer. Do you know, Chris, are you aware that Ricky is my wife's astrologer? Spends twice. He's an instructor. You'd be surprised at how many of our listeners have come out and visited Ricky in Grass Valley. He's got an unusual relationship with an assortment of our listeners because they come out and spend a weekend with you sometimes, right, Ricky?
Yeah. I've had a bunch of we do retreats out here, and I've had a bunch of people come. I think we've had almost 20 in the past year, and 90% of them found me through these conversations. So it's been great, a way for me to get to know fans on a deeper level, and it's great to be able to have astrological conversations with other sports fans. It's been fun.
Ricky, how odd is Dan with it? Does he like sit in the corner and watch you and
I'm
Valerie?
not there. I'm not.
I mean, you nailed it. He's pretty pretty bad at it, you know. But I will say, Valerie's really good, because in order to be good at astrology, you have to have a lot of curiosity, you know. And so yeah, he sits in the corner, he waves and says hi, and then he comes in and does his joke, and then Valerie fake laughs, and I smile, and then he's like, all right, and then he goes.
He does a joke.
Fake
It's
laugh.
what we were all
burn.
picturing, yeah.
Well, you got me standing in a corner. Like what you guys have me standing in a corner, and you're creeping me out with the visual image of me standing in a corner. You know how hard that is to do? Well, sitting in a corner, whatever, just
Not better.
Nearby but not involved, just sort of watching voyeuristically. Like the thing that you guys are describing is a bit insulting to me.
It's like Jerry Falwell Jr.-esque.
Yes. Yeah, well, you cucked me. Well, let's just say it.
That's
Let's just
what
say
we said back here, yeah.
You were just saying it privately. I
Verbatim.
saw it on your face. I saw it on all your faces. All of you were laughing. Cuck. Ha, 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 ha. You were all laughing. Look
Why
at
can't you read your own wife's astrology sign?
Yeah.
Well, we got a master teacher here. You got a guy. Look, your curiosity is endless on this stuff because what he's doing is trying to figure out the secrets of the universe. But how often, Ricky, when you're here trying to pick games, you've said before that this is not that. This isn't the science of predictive behavior. So what part of the game is interesting to you, or what part of the astrological impact on the game is interesting to you?
Well, it's interesting to me that as I used to be a pundit. I did a little football, a little TV stuff, and people would, ask me to predict the game. What's going to be the score based on what you've seen? What do you think? But from an astrological perspective, it's not a consideration of what do I think. It's when I ask the question, what does the chart say is going to? In the olden days, they would cut open a goat or a sheep, and then they would look at its entrails and its liver and its intestines, and based on that, they would say this is what's going to happen, or this side of this country or this nation is going to win the battle. But with an astrological chart, I asked a question, and it's a cool technique because it's from the moment you ask the question, you look at the chart for that moment, and it gives you the answer. And so I was thinking about what is the moment where I'm going to ask the question, and what question am I going to ask? And I decided the question I was going to ask is, are the Chiefs going to win again? That's the question. And when am I going to ask the question? So I said, I'm just going to wait until it feels like it's the right moment to ask the question. My son Blaze was in town this weekend, and he came over and he said, who do you got in the game next week? And I was like, okay, this is the time to ask the question. So I went on my phone and I created a chart for that moment in Grass Valley, California, where I live. And I looked at the chart to determine who's going to win the game. So it takes away anything I know about football, and it goes straight to the stars. It goes straight to divination to decide who's going to win the game. And to me, that's cool.
Take us through the details that you're using.
Okay, perfect. All right. So there's this kind of astrology is called horary astrology, meaning you look at the hour and it gives you the answer. And in the general rules, if the chart shows 29 degrees, they'd say it's not a good time to read the chart because it means something is about to end. All right, that's the general rule. So when I pulled up the chart, it was 29 degrees Leo. And Leo is the sign of royalty. So my interpretation was 29 degrees Leo means the end of a dynasty.
Woo!
All right, that's the first. It was to me, it was clear. It was like a clear image into the dynasty. And then another technique you'd use is on the left side of the chart, it represents the team you're asking about. And because my question were, are the Chiefs going to win? Left side of the chart represents the Chiefs. Right side of the chart represents the Eagles. And in the chart, there's a lot more planets on the right side of the chart, which means that the Eagles have more power. So another indication that maybe the Eagles are going to win.
Do you realize that if this is correct, this will be the single strangest gambling segment ever produced by anybody in the history of gambling? You feel like you have confidence in what you're saying. You believe that this is already kind of ordained from what you're reading. It's what the chart says.
Well, I mean, this is something, and the reason I reached out and I'm excited about it is because this horary astrology thing. It's been around for forever, and I've known about it forever. But just in the past month or so, I've taken a deeper interest into it. So I can't say I'm an expert, but I can trust myself to learn. So I feel like if I have an opportunity to throw it out there, put it out, and there's something there that it could turn into something very valuable, because where astrology and football overlap, no doubt, is gambling. And as I think about how to use astrology for gambling, it's not about looking at the individual's charts, because you can't go inside of someone's head and know how they're going to handle some kind of situation. But this horary astrology was specifically built to answer these kinds of questions. And even if as I get better and better at this, and someone who knows football and learns a little bit of this technique, they can use it to be able to help themselves gamble. Because like the more you understand the game and the more you understand what the chart is saying, you can see when it's saying something and when it's not. And because they're not saying that this technique works every time, but if you learn when it works and when it doesn't, someone could make a whole lot of money gambling on games.
Jessica, are you assuming that most of the audience is listening to this and saying, is the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugatz through DraftKings trying to go through the stars and Ricky Williams to tempt me to make a bet? That feels like a bit of a cheapening of what it is that Ricky is doing through the science and the stars to have him close to whether or not the Eagles are going to win or not.
I think they're still laughing at the cuck jokes.
He's being very firm about it's Philadelphia, the dynasty, and I can't believe you guys just have me in the corner watching their astrology work together. Like
Not every man can read their wife's horoscope, Dan.
Ricky,
It's okay.
good
It's nothing
seeing
to be
you.
ashamed
Thank you for being on. Good spending this time with you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.